Our next segment will be on the war in Europe and in the Pacific. More than 6 million men and women have volunteered for the war, while another 10 million have been drafted as GIs. American soldiers are the best equipped soldiers in the world, each of whom is given clothing for all climates. These soldiers are called GIs because they wear government-issued uniforms. Although the soldiers have been provided with outstanding equipment, the transition from civilian life to military life has been difficult. Now, to our very own Ryan Andrew, positioned on the front lines with draft selection and GI, Kobe Cueva. Ryan?
Thanks, Gavin. Alright, while in training or between attacks, these men live in various buildings such as school buildings, quickly constructed shelters, or ships, where they are responsible for mopping, laundry, mending uniforms, dishwashing, and taking out the trash. And now for Kobe, a GI. How are you dealing with the homesickness that you are experiencing while in Europe?
Well, VMail was designed to keep soldiers like me in touch with my family back home, and I often carry these letters with me for weeks on end, and even memorizing them sometimes.
How has combat affected you?
Combat has been a question of survival for my boys and I. You shoot them in the back, you blow them apart with mines, you kill them or maim them with the least danger to yourself.
Wow, that sounds like a difficult thing to cope with. We are all hoping for your success and safe return home from the war. Most of the GIs share one obsession, that is, returning home safely to their friends and families. Now, back to you in the studio, Gavin.
Thanks, Ryan. And now, to a quick commercial break.
Do you want to be like these men? Then join the Army today. Become trained and maybe even become an officer one day. Join the war and help your country out. Thank you.
And in more news on the war, our next subject is on African American soldiers in the war. In World War I, African American leader W.E.B. Du Bois urged his people to set aside their grievances and rally to the war effort. This time, the African American leadership supports the fighting against enemies both at home and abroad. In training camps, African American soldiers have segregated mess halls, movie houses, and recreational facilities. As General George Marshall sees it, desegregation of the Army is destroying morale. And now to Ryan on the battlefield with African American Alex Noriega.
The increase in war production has provided good jobs for African Americans. Around 2 million have started working in aircraft factories, steel mills, and shipyards. For the first time, African American women are able to find jobs other than as domestic servants and farm laborers. They've joined the war effort by taking positions in factories. White workers have presented their competition for jobs though, and also there has been a housing shortage. And now for Alex. How has discrimination been a factor in the war this fall?
Well, now in this war, we're actually giving jobs to soldiers instead of kitchen workers like World War I, and the Navy works as porters. Discrimination has been a key part of the war. Sometimes we have to deal with it.
I heard you had an altercation at a lunchroom in Kansas. Did you know that they do not serve African Americans at that lunch counter?
Well, of course we knew it. They don't serve African Americans anywhere in town. We ignored them, just stood there in the door, staring at what we had come to see, the German prisoners of war who were having lunch at the counter. We continued to stare. This was really happening. This happens if Selena would serve these enemy soldiers and turn away African American GIs. It's just insane.
Thanks, Alex. Despite this continued discrimination, African Americans have made significant progress in civil rights during the war. Back to Gavin in the studio.
Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this war update. Stay classy, America.